Hello friends, this is a short video today because I just want to introduce a couple things to you before I cut you loose. So this video is going to be your instructions for today, and then it's also going to be an introduction to the topic of resistance. Remember, we talked about this idea of resistance to slavery in last video. Well, I'm going to talk about that a little bit more today, but I'm going to teach you a couple different concepts. Those concepts are going to be the Underground Railroad, the Fugitive Slave Act, and finally, abolitionists. In our last video, we talked about slavery and how awful it was. But I did tell you that there was some resistance to slavery. People fought back against the injustices of slavery, and they did it in several different ways. One of these forms of resistance was for slaves to escape to the north, where slavery was illegal. They often did this by escaping in the middle of the night, and then traveling along the countryside until they eventually got to the north. These people escaping slavery often took the Underground Railroad. It wasn't actually like underground, and it wasn't really a railroad. It was more of a path that escaping slaves took, and along this path were several safe houses. These safe houses could have been things like homes, churches, or schools. These escaped slaves would hide in these places, and they would maybe rest for the night, get something to eat, before going back out on the road and trying to make it to the north. This whole operation was a secret, because if these escaping people were caught, they could have been captured and then sent back to slavery. You see, the Fugitive Slave Act made it legal for people to hunt down escaped slaves and send them back into slavery. Even if a slave had made it to a free state, they could still be captured. Essentially, what I'm trying to say is, once slaves had escaped, and even if they made it to the north, they didn't have the certainty of freedom still. They still had to live in fear, because someone could hunt them down and take them back to slavery. This law, this Fugitive Slave Act, sucks, obviously. And it also made a lot of people upset. So, people resisted this law in many different ways. In today's activity, once we're done watching this video, you're going to learn about abolitionists. Abolitionists were people who wanted to abolish or get rid of slavery. Anyone could be an abolitionist. They could be of any race, gender, or status. They could be free. They could be enslaved. They could have never been a slave. Abolitionists were people who thought that slavery was bad, and they wanted to do whatever they could to put an end to it. In today's lesson/activity/worksheet, you're going to learn more about the Underground Railroad, the Fugitive Slave Act, and abolitionists. Alright, so go back to Google Classroom. There you're going to see a link to a form that I want you to fill out. This is the bulk of our activity today. This is really what you're being graded on. The worksheet is a two-parter. The first part is you're going to read some stuff and then answer some questions. But Miss Rasa, what am I going to be reading about? That's a good question. This worksheet focuses on 4 different people who resisted slavery in a couple different ways. Some of them resisted slavery through action, like escaping from slavery or helping other people escape from slavery. Some of these people resisted by speaking out against the injustices of slavery. They gave speeches, they wrote books, and they did everything they could to raise awareness about the issue of slavery. You'll notice that both these women are named Harriet. Not every woman in this era was named Harriet. They had other names back then. After you're done reading things and then answering questions, you're going to move on to the second part of this activity. And in this part, you get to play a game. It's a choose-your-own-adventure game where you play as an escaping slave who's trying to find freedom in the north. You have to make several choices throughout the game, and if you pick the wrong one, well, you just have to play the game and find out. Once the game is over and you get the "You won" screen, jump back over to our digital worksheet, answer one last question, and then hit the submit button. And that's all, folks. Now that you're done this video, go ahead and jump into the worksheet and start filling it out. Have a great day!